Hello, guys. Welcome, everybody, to Purple Haze Podcast. Everybody, I am your lovely host, Isaac here. So, before we get to the video, make sure you guys hit that like button, and as always, hit that subscribe button. So, preseason week 2 is in the books for the Vikings as they fall to the Tennessee Titans at US Bank Stadium. Final score 24-16. Honestly, this game was obviously very hard to watch. Let me just be very clear. It was hard to watch from start to finish for the most part. There are a lot of gems, to be fair, but also just a lot of tough scenes. So, let's go ahead and get to the stats. So, time of possession, the Titans held the ball 5 minutes longer than the Vikings. And total yards, 262. Passing yards, 171. 91 rushing yards for the Vikings. 2 sacks. 3 of 13 on third down conversions. Unacceptable for the Titans. 352 total yards. 71 passing yards. 281 rushing yards. 3 sacks. 7 of 13 on third down conversions. So let's start off with the good first, I guess. Jaren Hall. Not too shabby. He basically did a excellent job. He was 4 for 7, 49 yards. He absolutely did great. He had two scrambles for a combined of 14 yards. So I guess Jaren Hall, let's be honest here. Jaren Hall had more command. To me, Jaren Hall had absolutely great momentum on the last drive by the Minnesota Vikings. So, I thought he did a phenomenal job, had a lot more, in my opinion, he had more command than Nick Mullins, okay? I will talk more about him later, at Friday. So, and also Nick Muse and Ben Sims, both tight ends, both combined, but Nick Muse with 3 catches for 46 yards and Ben Sims 2 for 38. They were an absolute driving force. They were, I thought, the biggest part of the offense. They were the playmakers, I guess you could say. Ivan Pace Jr. on going to defense. Ivan Pace Jr. At this point, I already seen enough to the point where I know that he is the guy to start. I've seen quite enough. On one certain play, it was the first possession for the Tennessee Titans on 3rd and 5. Ivan Pace Jr. went after Malik Willis on one pass play, which turned it to a screen pass, Lewisine with the cleanup to go 3 and out. Ivan Pace Jr., he's been absolutely amazing. He's absolutely amazing. So, Ivan Pace Jr., he's really destroying the competition on the second team. Let's be for real. It's really not fair for guys on the second team O-line or on offense to be playing up against Ivan Pace Jr. He needs to play, but this is telling us that he needs to play first team. That is what needs to happen. Joejuan Williams, most part had a good day, but also had another game where he broke up a pass. Joejuan Williams had another pass breakup, I believe, in the second or third quarter. I don't know. Ty Chandler, he did relatively well. 11 carries for 24 yards. The numbers show that he had very low, but in his defense, he had no offensive line worth a damn to really block. He was terrible. The offensive line was terrible. Not Ty Chandler, the offensive line. Let me be very clear. I've already said that before, but Ty Chandler should be basically the running back 2 by default. He's already shown that but the question is, he can basically take the number 1 running back position, in my opinion. Alexander Madison has the same skill set. Ty Chandler has the same skill set as Alexander Madison, but what Ty Chandler has that Alexander Madison doesn't is being dynamic. He has that skill set, so Absolutely what I love from Ty Chandler. Nick Mullins had an up and down day. 13 for 23, 151 yards. He basically had a very stupid throws. He was surprisingly not picked off once. Should have been an interception, but it was a drop. He didn't have too bad of a day. He had some good throws here and there. And also Troy Dye had himself an interception in the second half. We didn't do anything with that. And the second team defense, I thought they were absolutely stellar, holding the Titans to just 7 points. So the second team defense only held both offenses, the Seahawks and the Titans so far, by 14. That's pretty good. Now imagine what Brian Flores is going to bring up with the first team defense. I absolutely love it. Colin Thompson, he did do fairly well. He had a nice catch and run. He had 2 catches for 31 yards. I thought he was relatively well on the offensive side. And Ryan Wright, I think he's obviously one of the best punters in the league right now. He's one of the best. Sure, he had that bad punt, but it was straight up, though. It was straight up, so it basically bounced onto a Titans player and was recovered by Minnesota. I mean, it was at the same time, the more you look at it, it was actually a good punt. It was straight up in the air where the Titans couldn't receive it. It bounced on the field and it hit a Titan player. That is honestly, that is smart, though, to me. That is very smart. Let's get to the bads now. Oli Udoh. He was basically one of the worst offensive line out there. Back-to-back sacks, unacceptable to Nick Mullins. I felt like he was good with tackle instead of guard, but he was bad at tackle. Like, come on. And Lewis Cine, he absolutely looked like Anthony Barr out there. Let's just call it what it is. He basically had a play. He gave up a touchdown on one play where Lewis Cine decided it was a good idea to tackle with the head instead of the arms first. The dude just gallops over him like a horse. Absolutely unacceptable to be doing that as a first round save. And this is the second week in a row on the preseason that we have seen bad tackling. That is, I will talk more on him. Maybe Andrew Booth Jr. Speaking of Andrew Booth Jr., he looked lost as well. He looks like he has no idea what he's doing. He is very lucky to not have given up as much yards as he already have. It could have been a lot worse than that, because the Titan receivers were dropping passes while Andrew Booth Jr. was in coverage, and he gave up a lot. And he gave up pretty much a lot of separation to the receivers. He had one bad play, a 3rd and 5, a third down play. He whiffed on a tackle, and then they converted for a first down, and the Titans converted for a first down. Unacceptable to be doing this I hate to do this to the young players, but this is just ridiculous. The second week in a row we're seeing this. I do not know if they are bust or not. They very well are turning that direction. The run game was kind of atrocious with Sauce, basically. It was the first team defense, so I'm not upset. So basically, the Tennessee Titans as a whole, 281 rushing yards, that is a lot. Chestnut had 13 carries for 98. Malik Willis had 11 scrambles for 91 yards. And the Titans as a whole ripped off 7 yards per carry. That's unacceptable, dude. Okay, there was really no spy to really contain Malik Willis or anything. That's unacceptable. And then the O-line as a whole, we already know what we saw. They were bad. Especially during that last drive where, not the second to last drive by the Minnesota Vikings. After the Troy Dye interception, they basically got backed up 21 yards on that play after a interception should have been turned into points, but instead they basically did a false start. Illegal formation. They rushed for 5, a sack, and then a penalty on special teams, mainly on the offensive line on that play, man. Unacceptable. Dude, that's not going to cut it. In the second team, it's just the most disappointing thing about this preseason is there is little to no depth. It just seems like there is no depth at all. I know there is, but it just seems like there is really not a lot of depth. That is very disappointing to see. So basically, I got all that out of the way. So in my honest opinion, who my MVP is, I'm gonna go with Jaren Hall. Yes, I understand that basically he did not have the best game, but let's be real here about Jaren Hall. He made the most of when the opportunities were presented to him. He absolutely looked present. He looked like he took full command on the last drive where he got the touchdown. 12 plays for 83 yards. So I thought Jaren Hall was absolutely fantastic, using the momentum with his legs and his arms on that play. But I have to see more. Okay? I will talk about Jaren Hall maybe Friday and what my thoughts on the next preseason are, because Jaren Hall and the next preseason game are going to correlate with what I am going to say on Friday. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Skol.